The room was electric before the cameras even turned on. The debate stage was packed with journalists, politicians, and millions of viewers watching at home. But no one expected the night to turn into a battle of wits that would echo far beyond politics. It began when Jill Biden, standing firm at the podium with an unshakable smile, turned toward John Kennedy and said with cutting precision, "If you're so sure of your intelligence, Senator, why don't we settle it here and now? Let's take an IQ test." The crowd gasped, and for a split second, the senator's face remained unreadable. People leaned forward, anticipating a defensive stumble or perhaps a deflection. But Kennedy did neither. Instead, he calmly adjusted his microphone and replied, "You want to test intelligence? All right, but not the way you think." His words carried a quiet weight that shifted the energy in the room. For 36 long, tense seconds, silence followed. Jill's confident grin faltered as Kennedy reached into his jacket. Cameras zoomed in, capturing the moment his hand emerged holding an envelope sealed with an official stamp. The audience murmured, speculation buzzing like static in the air. He placed the envelope on the podium, tapped it once, and began to speak. "This," he said slowly, "is a letter written about me when I was a student many years ago. I've never revealed it publicly, because it was private. But since we're talking about intelligence, maybe it's time the world knows where I started and how far a person can go if they don't give up." His tone wasn't sharp or mocking, it was steady, raw, and personal. He broke the seal. The sound echoed louder than it should have in the hushed auditorium. Pulling out a faded piece of paper, Kennedy held it up for the cameras. "This letter," he continued, "was written by one of my teachers. It says, and I quote, 'A John lacks the mental ability to keep up with his peers. His future will likely not involve higher academics. Perhaps a simple trade would suit him better.'" Gasps rippled through the crowd. Jill blinked, her confidence visibly shaken. Kennedy looked down at the paper, his voice thick with emotion as he went on, "I was 13 years old when I read those words. 13. And for years, I carried them like a chain around my neck. I thought maybe they were right, that I wasn't smart enough, that I wasn't destined for much. But I had a choice: believe them, or prove them wrong. I chose the latter." His words cut deeper than any statistic or IQ score could. He folded the letter gently, almost reverently, before setting it down. "Intelligence," he said, "is not defined by a test score or by someone else's judgment. It's defined by perseverance, by grit, by the refusal to give up when the world says you're not enough." The hall was silent, every ear tuned to his voice. Even Jill seemed momentarily lost for words, her challenge disarmed not by mockery, but by vulnerability. Kennedy straightened his shoulders. "So, Dr. Biden, you asked for an IQ test. I'm offering something else. The truth that no test can measure the human spirit's ability to rise." The applause didn't erupt immediately. It began with a single clap, then another, until the entire audience was on their feet, giving a thunderous standing ovation. Reporters scribbled furiously, cameras flashed, and even political rivals nodded in respect. Kennedy hadn't just won the moment, he had shifted it onto something timeless. Jill, to her credit, stood silently, her expression softened. There was no witty comeback, no sharp retort, just a quiet acknowledgement in her eyes, an understanding that sometimes humility wins more hearts than victory itself. The debate moved on, but the memory of that moment lingered. Clips of Kennedy's revelation flooded social media within minutes, spreading faster than wildfire. Hashtags trended. People shared stories of their own struggles, teachers who doubted them, parents who underestimated them, moments when they were told you can't but prove they could. Kennedy's letter had unlocked something universal, the pain of being underestimated, and the triumph of proving otherwise. By the time the night ended, it was clear the exchange wasn't just a clash between two public figures. It was a story of resilience that struck deep in the hearts of millions. Kennedy had turned what could have been a humiliating challenge into an inspiring testimony. And perhaps that was the most powerful lesson of all, of that real intelligence isn't measured in numbers or letters on a page, but in the courage to stand when others expect you to fall. The story closed not with rivalry, but with a reminder: every person has a letter somewhere in their past, Words meant to limit them. But just like Kennedy, we all hold the power to break the seal, face those doubts, and rewrite the ending.